Holy moly. Can you all hear that sound? Let me figure out how to delete that. I sure hear it. I don't know what the heck. Where is that coming from? Sounds kind of groovy, but it's not the kind of music I want to listen to right now. Let me see how I can change that. Okay. Anytime you jump on here, you never know what you're going to get, y'all. I love it. Did you all hear that funky music? Found out where it was coming from? I hope you little nesters are excited for this live because I'm excited to share it with you. So today is Monday. Happy Monday, y'all. Let me know where you're tuning in from, where you're listening in from. Are you on your drive home? I hope you don't crash. It's a good day. It's a good day to be here. It's a good day on the social media street. I had a fantastic morning getting some stuff done and working on this super presentation because holy fireballs, it is wild out there in the media streets. So like I said, today is July 14th. Can you believe half of July is almost over? July 14th, 2025, Monday. Can you believe that, Joanne? I'm sorry you're sick. I'm glad that you're here, though. We got a Georgia in the house. We got a Wisconsin, a returning Utah. Welcome to the show. Joanne is in Utah. We got a Ohio in the house. Welcome, Heart Heart. Got a West Virginia. Welcome. We got a California. Got a Washington here. Good, 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 good. And of course, Kansas. Can't forget you, Les. Kansas in the house. And Woman Power 101. Shout out. Hey, Phoenix and all the peeps. Welcome on to the nest, my little nesters. What did you say? Let me just say. Oh, Tennessee 13 in the house. We said we were 6 months from Christmas. Holy freaking moly. Yes, we are. Texas in the house, Rebecca. TK, Tennessee. Welcome, welcome. I'm rolling in late. Hey, you know what? The other day, this is probably a really old saying. It's probably outdated, but remember, if you are early, you are on time. If you are on time, you are late. And if you were late, that is unacceptable. So, boy, we had some technology issues the other day, but they are all fixed. Lisa Marie in Houston, gorgeous. Welcome in. Swampside Chick, Louisiana. Been down in those neck of the woods. Texas, love Texas. I have had the ability and the wonderful, I guess I would say blessed to be able to travel the world and live in different places. South Dakota in the house, one place I've never visited, but I will. Fort Myers, Florida. Florida is my second favorite place to be. Beach, beach. Tennessee temporarily. Good afternoon. Watching before work. Hey, Penn Dizzy. All right, we've got what a way to start this. We've got some serious facts, Kim. So welcome in, British Columbia, Canada, Washington. I tell my employees, if you aren't early, then you're late, period. And this is a good way to segment into the facts because let's get the show on the road. I think you'd all agree. Hey, Jojo. How the media twisted the Bryan Kohberger case. And if you're wondering how they got away with it, I'm going to show you what they did in this case. Real quick, make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe. It's free. I don't charge. Notifications on all so you'll know if there's a new video, a new uploaded pre-recorded video, lives. You're going to get all the updates. So make sure you do that. Let's get some house cleaning out of the way. And if you are very generous, consider a donation right here under the super chat or the Cash App. It's Phoenix Talk, and so I can keep streaming this content. It does cost, but the more you share my content, the more you subscribe, the more you watch the whole videos in between through, that helps. I do that for Birdie. I'll watch all the videos, all the ads, and it really does help the channel. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the ways the media has totally lied about the Idaho 4. I'm going to go in with the media lied. Idaho 4 and the truth twisted for headlines. Would you all agree? Throw down a 1 if you think the media has twisted the headlines. Drop a 1 down in that chat. I know you guys see it. I know we hear about it all the time. Yep. I think there are many that would agree that the media has twisted the headlines. And I'm going to do this in a 2-part segment. So if you know the history of some of the media outlets and what media outlets you are watching, they are twisting the headlines to grab your attention, to pull that emotion, to get you so in your head. I was going to say another word, but I'm just going to not say it. They twist the headlines to get in your head to where you are thinking about a case, especially if you are a fan of true crime. You're going to be like, what? I know this isn't possible, but holy Phoenix fireballs. I'm going to show you the first thing that they did. They lied saying everyone was asleep. Do you guys remember that? Yet we all fell for it. The first order of business was to read the affidavit that was available to the public before the gag order. Wouldn't you think that any news outlet would be trustworthy to say, well, you know, one was alive and saw the killer? No, they started out with everyone was asleep. And that was just not true. How come you think they did not go with the narrative of reading the PCA and sharing the PCA? Why do you think they would not go with that? Type in your comments below. Because I'm going to show you something that will blow your mind. If you've never looked into this case, remember, there are going to be some people here that have not seen the PCA. Okay? They don't know what a PCA. It is a sworn affidavit to the court that the detective, well, I call him a detective. He's the lead investigator. The lead investigator on the case wrote an affidavit, gave it to the judge, and the judge approved it to go ahead and be sent to Pennsylvania, to get that court system in Monroe County to arrest Bryan Kohberger. I'm so glad I'm awake to this now. How did they get away with it? Yeah, right? I mean, you and me both were thinking this. But if I could be that one person that you come across that you think, oh my God, how did we not know this? How were we not given this information? Why were we not given this information? Holy freaking fireballs. Why would they even lie? What would be the purpose of a lie? Right? So I'm going to show you clearly what the PCA says. Anybody can Google Brett, B-R-E-T-T, Payne, P-A-Y-N-E, and you can go and type in PCA. PCA. And here's what you got. So let me just do this. Let me see if I can make this bigger. No, not going to let me. All right. So we've got the PCA here, and I'm just going to read it out for you. You can go Google it. You can bring it up on your phone if you got another device, a tablet. You can go step by step. DM stated, and this is page 5 of the affidavit, sworn, signed, under oath. DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the south side of the second floor. DM stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Goncalves, Kaylee, playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, DM said she heard what she thought was Goncalves saying something to the effect of, "There's someone here." Okay? So, if you are watching the news and you're thinking, wait a minute, DM said she thought she heard Kaylee saying something to the effect, "Someone's here." Okay, that seems to be like a little whisper. It didn't sound like screaming to me. It didn't sound like, "Oh, run for the hills," right? No, that sounded like someone told him, "Hey, someone's here." And then that means two people were awake. Okay, two known people were awake. Whether that voice was "someone's here" was Kaylee, DM was definitely awake. And these records were available to the public, but the news ran with a different story. Now, Brett Payne says a review of the records obtained from a forensic download of Xana phone showed that this could have been Xana, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. Now, that means 3 people may have been awake. Not all of them were sleeping. And that now, my friends, becomes more than 2 people, but yet 3 people may have been awake. Then DM stated she looked out her bedroom but didn't see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. Now, wait a minute, y'all. If I am in my room and the door is shut, how in the world could she hear all this and she couldn't hear anything else going on? This was a whisper or somebody in a low tone saying somebody's here. Now, I could do a whole, I could do a very, you know what, I think I will. I will do a PCA then versus a PCA now with what we've learned to this day. I'll do that. That'll be my next live. So, DM said she looked out her bedroom, didn't see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. She stated she opened her door a second time. Now, I didn't see anything stating that she opened her door the first time. Okay? But this is page 4, and it says that she opened her door the second time. Then she heard hold on. She opened the door the second time. Then she heard what she thought was crying coming from Xana's room. DM then said she heard a male voice saying to the effect, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." So who was that voice speaking to if she had already heard Xana crying? Okay, so that is 3 possible people who were awake at that time. Wow, that makes you really think. What in the world are we listening to? They weren't all asleep during this attack. So DM did see a figure. So let's uncover just exactly how deep and dark the media has twisted this story. Now, we know that the overview of the misreporting was there were students murdered in their off-campus home in November of 22. The roommate DM witnessed part of the incident, obviously what I just read you. But let's break it down. All the victims were not asleep. The timeline was confused, suggesting all were killed in the bed. And that's just not true either. The reality of the PCA is, obviously, Dylan opened her door multiple times. She saw the masked figure leave through the sliding door, and she was awake, and she did not call 911 hours later, leading to the speculation, but was also showing she wasn't asleep. Where was Bethany during this whole time? Well, we know by the texting going back and forth. But see, the headlines had already began from the beginning. The damage was already done. It misled viewers on social media, viewers on the news, via News Nation, through other social media outlets. The victim blaming and the harassment towards the surviving roommates began. The shifted public perception of timeline, motive, and suspects went wild. And how did the media do it? What was the media's end game and the incentive to do this? Well, let's think about this one. Why does the media twist stories? What's in it for them? They want to be the first to the breaking news. They want the clicks and the ad revenue over the truth. And how do they do that? They pull you in emotionally. That's sensationalism over nuance. They pull at your emotions. And here is something that someone told me as a whistleblower in the journalist media outlet arena. If it bleeds, it leads. And that is the most disgusting thing I have ever heard anyone say. Wild to me that that would be their motto. If it bleeds, it leads. It's a psychological impact on viewers. Not only is it emotional, it anchors bias from the first headline. That's the first thing you read. Oh shit. 4 college students unalive on an off-campus home. Wow. Immediate fear ensues on campus, in the media. And then you begin to mistrust all the later connections because you've already believed in your mind psychologically that, wait, this doesn't make sense. Then you have an internal conflict. And I'm just telling you the truth here. It's probably, you guys have probably already figured this one out. There are people placed specifically to give you that confusion. It is damaging. Who do you trust? We're creating a environment in this world of who can we seriously trust? Who's going to tell us the truth? Where do we go for the truth? How can I find the truth? Where is the truth? Who knows the truth? And that is what you need to stay focused on, is who is going to give you the most accurate, factual information. Where are their sources coming from? Are they going to share their sources? And that is what you need to look for on social media, in the general public, because there are people in your own lives that will mislead you. Probably nothing new. You haven't heard this before. So they cause this whole thing in the society of mistrust. Wow, I can't follow News Nation because they're a bunch of quacks. They don't even know the truth. They won't even acknowledge or have anybody read these court documents so they could share the truth. And what do they do next? They exploit every avenue possible, and I'm seeing it right now. And this is the reason why I got this idea to share with you how the media twisted this case and still are. Even though he is pled guilty, pending sentencing, the media is still doing it now as I speak. As I speak, the God's honest truth to you, it is wild. They see us, we see them. And who is going to put out the most accurate information? You know, when I figured I would talk about this, I knew that I would ruffle some feathers out there. So if you were the ones that are standing out there outside the nest with your feathers all ruffled, this might not be the place for you. And it's okay. You're always going to find your own place. Okay? But this may not be your stream to be in. If you want to gain some knowledge, some understanding about where I'm coming from, great. If not, this just might not be for you because the media is lying to you. There's no ethics in journalism right now because is it journalism? Are they reading a script that somebody has told them you must read this? You must not think for yourself. Do not investigate. Do not read the court documents. It began right at the PCA. That was the first lie they fed you. If that's where you want to be fed and that's what you want to glean off of, then hey, more power to you. There are some people who still think for themselves and research for themselves because they question the truth. And I'm going to give you some cases. You may not like what I'm about to tell you. And it's okay. Because this is factual information that I have personally researched that I will put my name to. And yes, Beth, thank you so much. I am going to keep ruffling feathers because you know what? You, the good people of America, deserve the truth. I will keep ruffling feathers because what does the enemy not like? To hear the truth. Poetic justice. Back in the day, the newscasters were fired for not verifying facts. Yes, I love I love it because you know what? Investigative journalism is where they need to get back to. I mean, you get to choose what you get to watch. It's called free will, people. My little nesters know where they're getting the truth. And when you have truth, yes, there will be people that come for you that start picking on your looks and tearing you apart, but that's okay. They can do that because they're not paying my bills. I pay my own bills. Now, let's look at some historical cases of media twisting the facts. These are historical cases, and then I'm going to get to this specific case because I know that's why half of you have come to listen. And I don't care if there's 1 or 1,000 people that will listen. Someone just affecting one person is all it takes to start an avalanche. We've got to start thinking for ourselves. Now, let's talk about the John Benet Ramsey case. How did the media mislead us there? Oh, well, the media immediately accused the parents. Do y'all remember that? Patsy Ramsey and John in the interviews and how uncomfortable they looked and how distraught they were that they just lost their child? Yeah, I know I do. Because I started following that case and started researching, started requesting documents, and half of the stuff I found out wasn't even true. And I was in utter shock. Totally utter shock. They twisted a lot of those stories. Wild. I mean, I kind of question the parents. One thing that I question for sure is, the house sitter. She had a 12-year-old girl in the house too. There was some pretty, obviously it looked clearly, allegedly, that Patsy was being medicated because she couldn't handle the stress. There were some other facts that, most of you probably didn't read the real facts that 6 months before this happened, there were Barbie dolls found in the yard of the Ramseys that were bounded up with duct tape, tied up. Barbie dolls, naked Barbie dolls. That was in the actual document. There are so many things that are in the actual truthful document that the media left out. It wasn't going to sell a headline. It wasn't going to make them have a million papers be read back in the days, because those were the days of not so much social media. Maybe they had MySpace, right? This was I think it was in 1996. Maybe MySpace was there available. They targeted the parents, and then the police had no proof, and years of sensational headlines from this case in 1996 of JonBenet Ramsey. They sold magazines, articles, People magazine. I mean, you name it, this was the headline of all headlines. The fear, the fear, the fear. And they kept saying it was a blotched investigation. You know what? The parallel right here is in parallel with Karen Reed and possibly the parallel with Bryan Kohberger's case. A blotched investigation or an alleged cover-up. Which one do you think it might have been? Because remember, JonBenet's father worked with government contracts. Do you all remember that? He had government contracts, people. Yeah. I could go on and on about that case, which I probably will cover. Let's talk about Richard Jewell. Does anybody remember Richard Jewell? You know, the 1996 Atlanta Olympic bombing. Do you guys remember him? His face was plastered all over the media. His name was plastered all over, and he was falsely identified as the suspect by the FBI leaks. Falsely. And guess what happened to him? Does anybody remember that case? The media surely made him guilty. It was awful. They later exonerated him, but his life was destroyed. His life was completely destroyed. And why? Just to sell a quick headline, not to look at the facts? Why would somebody do something of that nature? Just to have a leg up and say, oh, no, 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 wait a minute here. I'm the one that got the story first and we got the wrong guy. Right? And what happened with that? In Richard Jewell's case, remember, the truth was he was never arrested. He was later exonerated. The real bomber, Eric Rudolph, confessed years later. Years later. That's what the media does to people. Yes, they destroyed his entire life. Now, I know you guys are going to be, oh, Phoenix, go, this girl did it. This girl, there's so much misinformation. Casey Anthony's case. Now, I'm going to be a little lenient here because my intention is not to focus on Kaylee Anthony. My intention is to focus on the media twisted the headlines. Okay? Casey Anthony, what happened? She was tried for the murder of her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee, whose body was found months after her disappearance. How did the media twist the story? They launched a 24/7 circus. Do you guys remember this one? A circus. Labeled Casey America's most hated mom. Remember our Nancy Grace, the top mom or whatever she calls her? It was horrible. In my humble opinion, she was not a great mom. Not a great mom because of her behaviors. But the narrative they pushed already accused her and guilted her before her trial began. They had her guilty in the headlines. Kind of reminds me of another case that we're watching right now. Wow, trial by media. 100%. Remember, I'm talking about the media twisting the headlines, not these individuals alone. I'm talking about the headlines. The truth of the matter was that it was morally questionable. I know all of us in this chat are like morally questioning her as a mother. I got it. Her behavior, her partying. And remember, while Kaylee was missing, it came out the prosecution lacked definitive forensic evidence linking her to the murder, and she was acquitted. She went to trial and was acquitted, just like Karen Reed. And I'm going to tell you, there's another common theme that aligns with this: bad investigation or a cover up. Because no one's going to come out and say, hey, our police department's crooked all the way from the top to the bottom or bottom to the top, like we're seeing in the Karen Reed case. And I could just go on and I would blow a lid and just crash out right here. Because if you are seeing the repetitive behavior of the news and your local police department or nationally seen on the news, the police departments are kind of crooked and twisted, and you would have no freaking trust in anything that's been said on the media or any police department. Can you imagine how that would erode the trust of a citizen in the USA, let alone people outside the USA saying, oh, the Americans are so freaking messed up? So can you see how that happened? What was the impact on Casey Anthony? The public, influenced by media coverage, basically reacted with an outrage at the verdict, did we not? I did. I was outraged, but I wasn't in that courtroom. I didn't get to hear the evidence. I didn't get to see the documents. All I did at that moment in my life was watching the headlines. Top mom. That's all I can hear in the back of my head. Top mom, top mom, top mom. Okay? And there's a reason they do that over and over, to program you that this girl is awful. Okay? But the media's emotional framing led to expect a slam dunk and conviction that never came. So we were all like, God, the court's so stupid, the jury was dumb, and they just totally didn't get it. And it's okay. Some people are still outraged over that out of that outcome. But remember, we don't know all the facts. We don't know all the truth. We don't know. And boy, she's lived a life of hell because, she came on social media a little while ago, came on to the TikTok streets, and everybody kind of shunned her down. She had a Substack, and it's terrible. And I'm not defending her at all. That's one of those, I should put a big question mark on her face. Did she do it? I mean, we could have that discussion in another live, but I want to stay focused on the media twisted the headlines. Amanda Knox case. This went on from 2007 to 2015, guys. Do you remember what happened to Amanda Knox? Do you remember? I do, because I followed this case pretty closely. 2015 is when actually, let me go back. 2010 is when I really started getting into true crime. Not as a hobby. Remember, I worked with a private investigator. I don't know if many of you know my background. I worked with a private investigator in North Carolina when I was in nursing school. And I quit nursing school. I really liked what I was doing, and I was focused on getting my private investigator's license. It wasn't until later on, way later on, because you can work under other investigators' licenses. You can work under someone else. In some states, you don't need to have a license. Okay? So 2010, the very big first case I really got involved with as an advocate was Haley Dunn. It was out of Texas, and you know, I told the detectives I was kind of weird calling up and saying, look, I've been following this case, but I'm going to tell you, I really believe that her body is in the lake of an individual, and they found her body 2 years later. Why did the police not go look? Did they not take me seriously? Who knows? But she was found and laid to rest. And the perpetrators have still not been punished to this day. Not till this day. It's rotten that no one will pay for what they did to little Haley Dunn. So, in the Amanda Knox case, she was the student that was overseas, and she was convicted twice for the murder of her roommate Meredith Kircher in Italy. That was a wild case. There was a lot of dark stuff going on in that case. There could have been possibly drugs and alcohol, allegedly wild parties, and yet she was blamed and she was sentenced and convicted twice. What did the media do? They twisted the European, they twisted the American media, and they dubbed her what? Foxy Noxy, framing her as a seductive killer and focusing on her sex life rather than the freaking evidence. Do you guys remember that? That was wild. Jennifer Henry says, Phoenix, I was locked up in the Denver, Colorado maximum security prison twice there with the Black Widow. You need to understand something. 98% of women in there, it stops it in there. 98% of all the women in there, I bet you're going to say are innocent. And I would probably say you're freaking right. I've seen innocent people plead to stuff that they didn't do. They're in there for unaliving their kids in ways you haven't seen in the movies, ways that you couldn't possibly imagine. Oh, I've witnessed, sadly, many corpses, many. And I will tell you from crime scene photos, that just hurts my heart that somebody would even hurt another human being. It hurts to see people hurting animals. I'm a fur mama. I love fur babies. I love my own kids, and I couldn't imagine anyone doing anything to harm them. But what did they do to Amanda Knox? They twisted and dubbed her as the Foxy Noxy, like I said, and years after appeals, Italy's highest court finally acquitted her in 2015, citing a stunning series of failures. Well, dang, at least they went back and said, hey, we failed you during our investigation. We're going to let you go. We know that you're not the killer. But have we seen any updates of who the killer is, or did they bring the killer to justice? No. Bad police work got them off. They covered it up. They covered it up. And the real perp is probably still running around. Terrible, terrible. And then last but not least, I don't know if you can see this because the comments, let me remove them. The Central Park 5. Does anyone remember this case? I do. It was in 1989. It was right after I joined the military. And I believe I was in Diego Garcia at the time. And somebody came in and was talking about this case. And what happened? The 5 Black and Latino teens were arrested for the brutal assault and rape of a jogger in Central Park. The twisted media story, and I remember this one, they called them the Wolf Pack, dehumanizing the boys before trial. Even Donald Trump, do you guys remember he took a full-page ad calling for the death penalty? What was the truth? The teens were convicted largely based on coerced confessions And I believe in 2002, in my research, another man confessed, and the DNA evidence confirmed he acted alone. These kids spent 6 to 13 years in prison before exonerated. The media's role in their conviction was heartbreaking, stunning. That is actually now studied as a classic example of racial bias and sensationalism in journalism. I could name a bunch of other cases, but these are 5 examples that I personally know of, that I followed, that the media twisted the headlines. Now, what's a case that you've heard that the media definitely twisted the headlines? I know we can all say, Karen Reed. What are some that you remember off the top of your head? Will I grab a drink of water? Memphis 3. Yep. This is a great question, Renee. How do we stop it? And the only way to stop it is to choose what you believe. You're going to have to pick and choose what you believe, and you're going to have to either look into it or listen to the people who are sharing facts and truth with honesty. Waco, Richard Allen was another one. Delphi, Scott Peterson, Kyle Rittenhouse is a very good one. I mean, you guys, there are so many that I could call off the top of my head. And why is it the media is spinning these headlines? I think you all know bottom line. It affects their bottom line. And how did they do it in the Bryan Kohberger case? How did they do it? Because honestly, your call to action is basically you can double check the court documents. You hold the media accountable. Support ethical YouTubers, TikTokers, media, investigative journalists. Ethical. Support the ethical journalism. And this case isn't just about justice for the victim, it's also about reclaiming truth from the hands of headline hunters. Because I've seen some social media people that are cutthroat to go out for a headline just to get some information out into the public to spread lies. It's wild. I don't know how they could go to sleep at night and put their head on their pillow and feel good about what they've done. I don't know how. I don't get it. I just don't get it. So, one other thing that they do is, they overlay, I mean, things to look at. They overlay original headlines. They use voice clips instead of real broadcasts. They won't show their faces. Their sketch, you know, those are some of the ways that you can tell these people from the real people. They won't show their face, definitely. They use really horrible background sounds, and I mean, just will go on for hours and hours, right? Those are some of the ways that you can be more aware. Um, of the people, of the, I want to call them wolves, right? Wolves in sheep clothing. You think that you're getting some type of information and they're actually lying right to your face. Yeah, the Daybell case, the Chad Bay's Turtle Boy, I think is leading the way. He is. And I'm glad that people like Birdie and myself have stepped up. I'm glad there are people sharing the factual information instead of all the misinformation or disinformation, just to try to make themselves look good, right? It's terrible. I couldn't live with myself. But as you see, we start looking into how did the media twist it in this case? We look at the PCA, right? How else do you think that basically the media here has twisted this in specifically the Bryan Kohberger case? What is the one thing that really gets you in this case that they have shared that is just not true? If you're with me, type it below. There it is. That was the number one that I had on my list, was the incel theory. Exactly on my list. And I could show you a couple of the freaking headlines, a couple of the social media that have just shared the heck out of this. The whole narrative, the narrative of the Papa Roger crap. And I mean, it's sick. I mean, they've like really have outdone themselves this time. That is just a sample of why this headline: why Kohberger committed the Idaho for college murders and eerie similarities to an incel mass character killer. This was just July 3rd, 2025. Yeah, harassed women, that he stalked them. Um, Even Bill Thompson said no. There was no connection. There was no sexual manner or nature in this case. No, there was no, um, you know, no stalking going on. Oh, yeah, the Bundy one, Les, that's really classic. Yeah, the Bundy one. A certain Annie 10 to life was huge, pushing that she got a tip about the sheath early, too. Well, I don't know how she would get the sheath early. I mean, unless she knew somebody on the case. The only way I could think. Misinformation. I heard that the church had some involvement, the Church of Christ. Yeah, if they can throw the church under the bus, they'll throw that in there too. They definitely will. And it's sad because, you go through all these and you're like, why would they fake news? Yeah, this is fake news. Developing stories and the headlines that would be he's an incel, or just all these other terrible ones. The top one was that he was an incel. The second on my list is they claim that his apartment, allegedly the complaints were red flags and consistent with violent tendencies. There was some media early reports at his apartment that there were some complaints on file. Then the reports from alleged former friends of misconduct, his behavior, painting it as creepy, antisocial, or even vengeful. Remember those? Yeah. The people that came up and said that he was this and that and all this other stuff. Really disgusting behavior. I mean, why would someone go and say, hey, oh yeah, I worked with him. He was really freaking creepy. He did this and that. And I mean, honestly, think about what Dateline, or yeah, think about the news and what they did right here. Anybody remember this picture? This picture was obviously AI. This doesn't even look like him from court. That was another thing. They made him creepy and scary so that nobody wanted to, talk with him maybe, or whatever. Who knows? They made him look scary. What about this picture? You guys are going to be like, oh, take that down, take it down, take it down. But I'm going to share it with you anyways. Oh, wrong picture. Hold on 1 second for me. Sorry. I got a little ahead of myself. Remember this Dateline? Yep, that one. Totally AI. Totally AI. That was on my list too. Another one was the vengeful person that they betrayed. Then the dumpsters in Pennsylvania were searched. I don't know if you guys remember that one, that raised speculations about evidence found, wearing gloves, and they twisted that one, made him look like he had maybe done something wrong. It couldn't have been his OCD. Couldn't have been that he didn't like to touch garbage or, yeah. He had this fetish, guys, where he went over to someone's house allegedly, and he asked them, would you buy new pots and pans because I don't want any meat cooked in mine. Can you believe that? It was said that he wore gloves at the grocery store because there were too many germs. And they twisted that too. Really twisted it. What about the media outlets that portrayed his behavior as a knife shop, as sinister, that I guess suggesting he was planning to kill someone, and other articles that claimed that he was bullied, twisted, and portrayed him as a latent psychopath motivated by revenge. Do you guys remember all those articles? Do you remember those news headlines? And then obviously they focused in on traffic stops, and they twisted videos of the two, suggested he was nervous and guilt-ridden, right? They threw those around the circuit, and they made sure that everyone was aware that he had had several stops. Yeah, crazy. And then he used many news agencies used unconfirmed reports that described him as a heroin addict and in rehab. In his past, that he was a heroin user and in rehab. I don't know where that came from, but I remember in the beginning I was like, oh, all these things to paint these individuals so wrong. They used unconfirmed reports, headlines twisted, the murders were senseless without showing any evidence of his intent. Still to this day, stole his sister's phone, dad called the police on him. Yeah, wild. All the features, twists, and turns that was on my list for the top 10. The last one being, they wanted to twist his thesis and make him look callous, revengeful, and jealous. Yep, Steve G said he was jealous too. Yep. Tell you, my son wears gloves sometimes to do things that he hates, like clean and vacuum and spray and do stuff. Never question it. Some women do not like to wash the dishes without gloves on, people. Yeah. We don't like to touch grease. We don't like to get our nails dirty. He never socked them. Bill Thompson even in fact said that in a court hearing, which most people won't go into the court records to look. These are just some ways that they have painted Bryan Kohberger in the media and how they twisted it to make their bottom line and their dollar. Disgusting news media behavior. Disgusting. Do you remember there was a time? Yes, Susan, absolutely. Do you remember there was a time when everyone had to use masks because of germs? Remember how everybody wanted to use gloves? I even went to the dentist during that time, and not only did, they encouraged their patients to use gloves in the office. Absolutely. Kim has a very valid point. I'm more afraid of Idaho sororities than ever. Bryan Kohberger. Remember his IDs that are found in the glove box? I'm glad you brought that up, Les. I'm glad you brought that up. Because I was thinking the other night, if he was in a study, researching a study, and if he was a actual undercover CI or Fed or whatever, allegedly, don't you think he would have other IDs? Let that one sink in. They didn't say whose IDs were found in the glove box. They just said they found multiple IDs in the glove box. I'm probably more creepy and don't like people. Yeah, Momo, right? Why would he drive his car in circles? I don't think that was him. I think it was someone that was lost. Hey, I caught Phoenix live. Good to see you in here, honey. Yeah, Kim says me too. LOL. COVID showed people how don't watch it. People seem to forget they wore a face diaper for 3 years. I agree. Oh, the perfect trifecta in 2020. Yeah, this was just like the end tail of 2022, right? Makes sense. Great chat. Got to go to work. Enjoy work if you can. Be careful. Yeah, 2020 was a dumpster fire, guys. I would agree. Never revealed Albertson's grocery store. Yeah, that's true. I doubt we'll ever see these documents, these files, guys, other than what they've shared and told us so far. If it doesn't make parents think about sending their kids off to college after this case, the investigators have transpired from this community showing that Moscow is not such a safe town. Well, if you were on the live a couple of days ago, I showed 2023 annual Moscow police department annual survey, and it was wild. Everything that they shared in that is spot on to what was going on, and not one mention of the Idaho 4 other than just the lead investigator. Nothing in the community, nothing that they've done in the community. Exactly. My implication was that he had stolen the victim's ID. Yep, that's what they wanted you to believe. They've never said who it was. Why did Steve G say Kaylee was investigated? I do not know, and I have always wondered that. There is nothing in the repository other than she had an underage drinking charge. I've shared that information before, too. Hey, Layla, come on in. Welcome. Welcome to the nest, my little nesters. I'm so glad you found me. Too much redacted and national security risk will never get the truth. You are spot on. I believe that 100%. And if we do get some information, it's probably going to be heavily redacted, like you said. Very redacted, like the whole entire pages after pages. Why do I miss the first hour of every live? That's okay. You can catch up. Wonder if it was about the mail. Allegedly, the necklace that may have been mailed to Steve G. I'm not sure. COVID, yep, trifecta, definitely was. All right, so now that I've given you all that information, I hope that you definitely will make sure to check your sources, even double check, right? You can all go and find this information for yourself. You can Google, you can search. There are ways to find out information, so much information, guys. So it says, thank you. My point, after being locked up in that situation, you have to be very aware of the people who they really are. You can read anyone, but no one really understands just how ugly lurks. Well, you know what? You do have a good point. You don't know until you know. And I'm sure that with the experience you had being in there, you have more experience than the average person now that you're out, that you would question certain things about people. Um, it at one time, and I'm just going to say it like it is, one time I went to the grocery store. I had my daughter with me, and we were walking in the grocery store at a Harris Teeter in North Carolina, and this woman was on her way out the grocery store, and I don't know why she got so angry at this little girl. She had to have been at least 3 to 5 years old, and she literally laid out and slapped her child so hard that it prompted me to go and tell the manager. And it was awful. I felt so disgusting for that mother that she did that to her child. And yeah, I went and reported it to the manager. The manager called the police, they reviewed the tape, and who knows what happened. But I was so disgusted and distraught by it. It was horrible. But I see your point. If you've been locked up with the worst of the worst that have done the worst to their children, and once you are out and you can identify certain behaviors, that is something, that is a gift you have. You know to stay clear away from certain people. And that is something that you should be thankful for, because that might save your life in the future. So, in regards to how the media twists the story, whether it be Kohberger or all the other people that I've showed you, there are clues and ways to figure out if the media is lying to you. Because sometimes there'll be that gut in your stomach, and women are usually the smartest with the most intuitive thought process to think something is not right. and that usually is. So make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. If you want to hear more, awesome. I'll give it to you all. Make sure that you hit all notifications. Hit that thumbs up for me. And as always, I appreciate you. If you feel inclined to donate, feel free. And as I always say, make sure that you are informed, and as always, be well.